A big thing when it comes to business or life in general is to have things to strive for. Just recently, we built our dream home and our forever home and bought 30 acres, and that had been my big goal for like 4 or 5 years. So to come up with another goal has been really hard for me, and I've had to develop some techniques to really figure out what my goals should be and how I'm going to hit them now that I hit one of my biggest goals. So I thought it would be really fun and interesting to bring you guys some tips for goal setting and then some hacks on how to make sure you actually go after the goals that you set. If you are looking for a video to help you set some big goals and actually hit them, you are in the right place. And my name is Jessica Stansberry. If this is your first time on my channel, I am so glad you're here. My main goal in life is to help women up-level their success in whatever that looks like, whether that is in your business or in your corporate job or whatever. So that is what I do on this channel. I help you up-level your success level, because without that, you're just gonna stay in the same place and look back and be like, oh, what did I do with my life? So you're in the right place. Go ahead and hit subscribe if that sounds like something that you need in your life. Basically, like if you're like, yes, I need more of this in my life, go ahead and hit subscribe. Also, there's like weird sun issues happening here because I'm filming in my office and I haven't quite figured out it's fairly new. I haven't quite figured out like the sun timing. So if I get like a little darker and a little lighter throughout the video, just give me some grace. Okay, so let's just jump into it. I don't want us to waste any time, but before I really get into the tips and tricks, I'd love to hear what your goals are down below in the comments, because one, if you don't have goals, let's figure them out. But two, I'd love to hear your big audacious goals because it really motivates me, and I know it will motivate other people who read through the comments to see what other people's goals are. So if you've got big goals, drop them down there. Okay, first and foremost, you have to make big, broad, massive, but realistic goals. So this is tip number one. I want you to make big goals, but that are also realistic. Okay? So if you are 29 and a half years old and you just start your business, then you're probably not going to make $1 million by the time you're 30. But to say that you want to one day have $1 million company, that's a good goal. But saying, I want to do it in the first 6 months of my business, probably not realistic. So keep your goals realistic, but also make them massive, because you want to be striving after something and you want to understand through everything you're doing why you're doing it, and it's to get to that bigger goal. Now, a couple of things on this. I think that we should have multiple massive goals, right? I want to run a marathon. I want to be CEO of my company in 10 years. I want my business to be a 7-figure business really soon. Those kind of things, but you want to keep them broad and big. So this isn't, I want to run a 5K next month. We'll get to that in a second. But this is, I want to be fit and a marathon runner, right? Like that's the big goal. So first and foremost, I want you to determine what those big goals are. Generally, it's one big goal per area of life. So for instance, if I say I want to have $1 million company, but then I also say I want to maintain a certain weight forever, then those are two different big goals in each section of my life. Now, we can have smaller goals that fit into other pieces of our lives inside of these, and I'll explain that in a minute. But let's say one of my goals is I want $1 million company. And then let's say one of my smaller goals, when I think about it, is I want to travel to Europe every year with my family. That's really a goal under that goal, because if I have $1 million company, I likely can afford to take my family to Europe every year, right? So that is not a big enough goal, taking my family to Europe every year, to make it one of these big, big, big goals, okay? So 2 to 3 massive, big goals. That's what I want you to figure out right now. Now, I want you to take those big goals and break them down into more doable pieces, right? So if I want to have a 7-figure company in the next 5 years, then what income bracket do I need to fall into for the next year, for 2 years down the road, for each year leading up to those 5 years? Break it down into smaller goals. So big goal, 7-figure company. Smaller goals are, well, this year then I need to make 500,000 or 250,000 or whatever. Then next year I need to make 400,000. Then the third year I need to make 550,000. And then the fourth year I need to make 700,000. And then by the 5th year I can scale that to $1 million. So we want to look at it in smaller goals, okay? So once you've broken it up into that, then you can even break it down further, okay? Well, if I need to make 250,000 this year, how am I going to do that? Like, what is my path to make that happen? So then you can break that down into smaller goals. So, okay, well, if this year I need to make 250,000, then that means that each quarter I need to make X amount of dollars. And then each month I need to make X amount of dollars. And then you can break it down into how you're going to do that. And that may change from month to month or quarter to quarter, but it's a good measure of like getting to your goal for the month, which will then get you to the goal for the quarter, which will then get you to the goal for the year. So you can use that to really break down your goals in a big way. So take those big goals and break them down. Let's use I want to run the Boston Marathon as an example. Y'all, I have no desire to run the Boston Marathon, but if some of you do, this is for you. But we all have our own like health and fitness goals, right? Like for me, it's just to maintain a certain weight. It's to lose like 30 pounds and then maintain that. So for me, that doesn't sound like a very big goal, but it is because it's a struggle for me. So then I can break that down into saying, well, if I need to lose 30 pounds, then how am I going to do that? And break it down throughout the process. Okay, so back to what I was saying. Let's say that your big goal is to run the Boston Marathon, right? Then what small goals can you break that down into? Okay, well, I know to run the Boston Marathon, I have to qualify. I don't know if this is true. This is probably a really bad example for me because I honestly don't know. But I think you have to be like invited to run the Boston Marathon. I don't think you can just like show up and run. So, okay, well then the precursor to that becomes a smaller goal, right? Well, okay, then I need to qualify by doing whatever. Okay, well right now I don't run at all. So then I need to learn to run. I need to figure out what works for me. I need to make it part of my schedule. And I need to then run a 5K and then a 10K and then a half marathon and then a marathon. And I need to do all of that so that I can get to the point where eventually I can run the Boston Marathon, right? So you break that big goal into smaller goals. Okay, so that is step number 2. Break the big goal into smaller goals. All right, so the final step to actually setting and then achieving these goals is to take those smaller goals we just created in step 2 and find a way to work on them every day. So going back to the Boston Marathon thing, if the small goal right now that you're working towards is to be able to run a mile without stopping, then every single day you need to be doing something to get towards that. Maybe on Monday you are running for 5 minutes without stopping, and then on Tuesday you run for 5 minutes without stopping, and then on Wednesday you buy a new pair of shoes, and then on Thursday you figure out how the best running trails around your house. But either way, you're doing actions that are actually going to help you achieve that goal. And that will mean that you're going to hit it way quicker. Because if you just put it out there like, oh, I want to be able to run a mile one day, and you don't actually schedule time in your calendar to go after it, it will never happen. So same thing with that big business goal, right? I want a 7-figure business. I broke that down into that this year I need to make 250,000. Well, what does that break into in the quarter and then in the month? So then I need to say, okay, this month I need to make $10,000 or whatever. And so how am I going to do that? And I'm going to break that down into I'm going to sell this many of my course. I'm going to bring on this many clients. I'm going to have this many people in my membership. Whatever the goal is or the structure, but you've got to figure out what that income is to get you to that goal, that smaller goal, right? And then do something every day that gets you there. Well, if you only have 12 people in a membership, but by the end of the month you need 50, then are you doing something every day to get people to that membership? If you have 1 client and you need to have 3 by the end of the month, what are you doing every day to get yourself to those 3 clients? So you need to make sure that every single day something is going in your calendar to work you towards those big goals, but you're starting with the small action steps, right? So have $1 million business. If you don't break it down in this way, then for me to say, do something today that's going to help you have $1 million business, you're not going to know where to start. But if I say, do something today that's going to help you hit $5,000 this month, then you're going to know, like, okay, well, to hit 5,000, I need to do X, Y, and Z, and I can do that by doing X, Y, and Z throughout the week. So number one, big goals. Number two, break those down into smaller, more actionable goals. And number three, do something every single day that gets you to one of those smaller, more actionable goals, because then it just trickles and runs down into that big goal. All right, so now that we're done with like how to actually structure your goals and get to them, I want to give you a few quick little tactical tips. One is get a notebook or create a digital notebook in your GoodNotes app, like I love, that's just for goal setting, so that you can write down those big goals and then write down those smaller goals, and then you can see those every single week when you start to schedule out your calendar. So you can say, okay, Monday I'm doing X, Y, and Z, Tuesday I'm doing X, Y, and Z, because they're written down in front of you and you can constantly reference back to them, okay? So get a notebook or a digital notebook or something that's gonna help you write down the goals so you can see them all the time. Second, I want you to check in with yourself every single week, whether that's on Friday when you're closing up your work week or on Sunday before the next work week. I want you to check in with yourself and be like, okay, what did I do to get to this smaller goal? Did I do the things I needed to do? And what can I do better next week? Because that's going to help you, again, snowball these effects into hitting those bigger goals. And then the third tactical, quick little tip I have for you is not to wait. Not to wait till Monday or the first of the month or whatever. Your goals can literally start happening on a Tuesday at 2 p.m. in the middle of the month. Like, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm going to wait till the first of the month and I'm going to start eating healthy. I'm going to wait until the first of the month and then I'm going to start promoting this thing that will get me to my goals. Just know that you can absolutely hit your goals whenever the heck you want to. So don't hold yourself back and make yourself feel like you have to wait until the end of the month. All right, so I asked you earlier to share your goals down in the comments. If those have changed, or if you have listened to this and you've developed new goals, I'd love to hear those as well. And until next time, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any other fun little tips and tricks like these with me every single week. Bye, y'all.